How's it going, guys? Rhino here, and welcome to the first official video on the secondary channel of mine that I'm going to be doing different types of videos on. In this first video, we're actually going to go over the PBS NewsHour Are You Sexist quiz. I guarantee for anyone who has been on YouTube at all recently, you've seen this quiz or at least heard about it. Basically, it's this quiz that's causing a lot of uproar due to the fact that it's made by people who are I don't even know how to really describe it. They're your typical gender studies people who put their own definitions to everything, and I'm going to get into that later. But basically, we're going to take this quiz, and you can just, if you want to take it yourself, just Google PBS Are You Sexist. I think that it should be the first thing that comes up. I'm not going to put a link because I don't want anyone else, having to go through this mental torture. But let's get into this. So, Are You Sexist? Take the quiz. I like how it automatically puts it as an image of men versus women in this, which is not how sexism necessarily is, especially with all these genders that are getting created all the time that I am not saying I agree or disagree with. I'm just saying that there are more genders that are being pushed by social justice people, and they're not being represented here. Here it's just strictly men or women, which I find odd from someone who... The people who did this, I don't know if it's the people who made this quiz. I don't care about the Republican National Convention. I don't know if it's the people who made this quiz that are social justice, or if it's the people who did the study. Because, okay. So you can read through this preamble if you want. Pause the video or something, because it's all right there on the screen. Just pause the video and read it. I'm not going to go through it, but basically it's a bunch of bullshit that's saying that this quiz doesn't mean much. And when you have a quiz that says, are you sexist? And then you later say this quiz doesn't mean much, it causes some problems. But enough bullshit. Let's get right into this and let's see just how stupid these questions are. Now, one thing people have complained a lot about is that these questions are very loaded, and already looking at the first question, yes, questions are very loaded. So many women have a quality of purity that few men possess. I mean, this is a case-by-case basis. You'd first have to define what purity is. If you're talking about purity sexual-wise, then no. I mean, I don't know. I don't really know what's being talked about here. That few men possess. Purity that few men possess. I mean, I disagree. I'm going to say disagree somewhat, because it's each individual. I know a lot of girls or women who are not pure at all. They do drugs, they drink a lot, but I also know men who are, like me. I don't do drugs and I don't drink, so I disagree with that, and I'm kind of between somewhat and strongly on that one. Women should be cherished and protected by men. Once again, another loaded question. Men should protect and cherish the person who they are with, or people that they are with. If a man is with another woman, if a man is with another man, he should cherish that and protect that person. If a man is with a woman, he should cherish and protect that person. If a woman is with a man, she should cherish and protect that person. If a woman is with another woman, she should cherish and protect that person. I don't know what this has to do with gender. This just has to do with protecting the person you're with. Now, if it's talking about in general, men should protect and cherish women, no, absolutely not. Because some women who I have no contact with, who lives in Florida, who I meet once, I have no reason to protect her. So I'm going to say disagree somewhat. No, I'm going to say disagree strongly on that one. There's no reason. I mean, I cherish and protect the person that I'm with, but it's not based on gender. It's based on the fact that I'm with that person. So I should be cherishing and protecting them. Women seek to gain power by getting control over men. I actually agree with that, because this is not all women. By any of these answers, these are not all women, these are not all men, but I know a lot of people who seek to gain power that way. And I mean, it's still tough to answer, because this is a case-by-case basis. There are tons of girls who would, or women who would never do this in a million years, and then there are ones who do it all the time. But I have seen women try to control men. That is something that I have absolutely seen. Every man ought to have a woman who he adores. I mean, if you mean adore as in love, like romantically, then absolutely not, because there are people who are gay. There are people who are, what's the term? Asexual, where they're not attracted to anyone. But if you're talking, because I mean, there are people who I adore who aren't people that I'm romantically involved with. I mean, there are other types of relationships, and I'm not going to make this too complicated. Absolutely not. There's no reason. I mean, if you are with someone, yes, you should adore that person, but men are incomplete without women. Once again, that goes back to what I just said. There are men who are gay, and there are men who are asexual. So this is really a case by. This is such a loaded question. How can you I mean, I know you stated it at the beginning that this doesn't define if you're a sexist or not, but how can this have anything to do with sexism based on loaded questions that are so vague? I mean, hasn't asked me anything about if I'm sexist or not. This has asked me nothing that would point towards sexism. But no, men are not incomplete without women. Men and women alike are independent. Women exaggerate problems they have at work. I mean, I don't know why you specify at work. I know women exaggerate problems. Everybody, I mean, most people exaggerate problems. I don't know what this has to do with gender, but I know a lot of females who do exaggerate a lot. So I'm going to say agree strongly. No, that's way too strong. Agree somewhat. Once a woman gets a man to commit to her, she usually tries to put him on a tight leash. Shit, I haven't been in nearly enough relationships to have an accurate opinion on this. I've never been put on a tight leash, and once again, you need to define what a tight leash is. I have no clue what that would be, but I think it just means that she tries to be strict with him. I'm going to agree slightly because I have friends who are in relationships that are unhappy because the person they are with is very strict. But this is certainly not representative of all women. I mean, I can't say, like, if there's a woman watching this, I cannot say that you are one of these by any means just by knowing that you're a woman. Gender has nothing to do with this. I know men. I've heard of men who do this. Get a woman to commit to her and then put them on a tight leash and treat them like shit. So I don't know what this has to do with gender. Once again, when women lose to men in fair competition, they typically complain about being discriminated against. No. I mean, it kind of depends. I've never experienced that. I've never had that. And any discrimination that they complain about is usually based on things other than gender. And it's not a woman specific thing. I'm going to disagree strongly. That may happen, and I apologize if you know that happens, but I've never experienced anything like that. Many women get a kick out of teasing men by seeming sexually available and then refusing male advances. Sorry, there was a weird light on, like, down there. I don't know where that came from. Then refusing male advances. Once again, I mean, I feel like this would be a question for men who go out and do things more, like go to bars and stuff all the time. And that's not me. I'm not someone who goes to bar. Well, I'm not 21 yet, but But I definitely have seen this. So I'm going to say I'm definitely in the agree section. But I don't like how it says many women. This irks me so much, just how loaded these questions are. I thought it was 22 questions. These 22 questions aren't designed to there's 17 questions. Oh well, I'm not. Whatever. I'm gonna agree slightly. I don't know. I'm sorry if that's offensive to you. I don't personally believe that has anything to do with being a woman. I think it's always based on the individual. Women compared to men tend to have a superior moral sensibility. Moral sensibility has nothing to do with gender. Why? Why are you asking that question? Men should be willing to sacrifice their own well-being in order to provide financially for the women in their lives. Well, what if the woman is the breadwinner? I'm leaning towards disagree simply because women should be, by choice, I mean, if they want to be, they should be independent. So the man shouldn't have to sacrifice to provide financially for the woman because she should be able to provide for herself. And then but then there's like my mom. My mom hasn't worked since she was like in her mid to lower 20s because she got married to my dad, and my dad made more than enough to take care of both of them. So she doesn't. So she's not independent. But then there's also the flip side. There's also couples where the man is a stay-at-home parent or just doesn't work because he doesn't need to, and because the woman is the breadwinner. So I don't know what this has to do with gender. I'm going to say disagree somewhat. Feminists are making unreasonable demands of men. I mean, once again, this is a very loaded question. You don't specify what demands, but there are absolutely demands that are unreasonable. I mean, things like manspreading. It's unreasonable to demand that men have to sit with their legs closed simply because they're men. I mean, literally right now I'm sitting with my legs more spread, not like spread eagle or anything, but like my legs, the way a man naturally sits because of certain biological reasons, our legs are naturally spread a little bit. I don't take up any extra room on a bus or anything, but my legs are just more naturally spread. And actually, that's not even solely a man thing. That's women do that too. My girlfriend does that actually. She'll like sit with her legs slightly spread. It's just how humans sit because it's more comfortable. But there are also other demands. I'm going to agree strongly. I would not say all feminists by any means are all feminists, because there are a lot of very logical feminists who are just fighting for equality. They're not fighting for manspreading and mansplaining, stuff like that. Okay, yeah. What is your gender identity? I'm a male. Please identify your age range. I'm 20, almost 21. Do you live in the United States? Yes. And I live in the state of Oregon. What is the highest level of education you have attained? Some college. I'm currently in college. Still have 2 more years to go. And please identify your household income. I mean, it's definitely $75,000 or more, because my household includes my parents, and my dad makes quite a bit more than that. I am personally in this range here, but 75,000 or more. Yeah. Submit. Ouch. Okay. Oh, okay. I scored really well on benevolent sexism, apparently. But let's break this down. Hostile sexism describes behavior that overtly threatens or intimidates or abuses women, especially those who defy male-dominated power. So based on this, I threaten, intimidate, and abuse women on a regular basis because I'm apparently more sexist than the average man when it comes to hostile sexism. Now, this isn't too specific on what that means, and I'd love to see a breakdown of what questions triggered that answer. But this boils down to one huge thing. This has caused a lot of problems between different types of feminists, between anti-feminists and feminists, and just between pretty much any debates that comes to social arguments. Things about social justice, not like social justice warriors, but like things, Black Lives Matter, stuff like that. Quite simply, this is a very subjective, and basically the creators of this came up with their own definition of sexism that I personally do not agree with. Nothing I answered on there was sexist. But you can't come up with with a definition for something, say sexism, and then publish it and say, oh, well, this means you're a sexist. You have to actually justify why that's sexism. And that's not done here. And I completely disagree. Nothing I answered was sexist. And actually, most of these questions had nothing to do with sexism, because sexism is actually about oppression of women, not what was one of the questions? If I think women are like to tease men or whatever by pretending to be sexually available. That's not sexism in my book. But benevolent sexism perpetuates gender-based prejudice more subtly, feeding the notion that wonderful but weak women need men to help and protect them, and ultimately justifies gender inequality. Well, I mean, I'm happy I scored low on that one, but I feel like I should have been a 0, simply because on both of them, I'm not a sexist. I strongly believe that women can and should be independent. And it should be like, I mean, when it comes to just their lives. And I believe that men and women should be equal. I believe that, I believe that there's nothing inherent about women that is only inherent about women, and same for men. I mean, other than things like biology. But this was just a bad test, a bad quiz. The part that pisses, I mean, it was a bunch of loaded questions, but the part that pisses me off the most is the fact that they came up with their own definition for sexism and used that to define sexism. I could just as easily say, all right, I'm going to make a quiz right now for all of you guys watching. It's not down in the description or anything. It's right in this video. So just answer the question. It's one question long to tell if you're sexist or not. And that will define if you are sexist as a person. And just 100%, that's the definition. You can't debate it, because I obviously know what I'm talking about. So the question is yes or no. It's not agree or disagree or slightly whatever. It's just yes or no. Are you a feminist? Think about it. Think about it for a while. Pause the video if you need to, and think about it, and then answer the question, are you sexist? Well, then, based on my subjective definition that I literally just made up, if you are a feminist, you are automatically a sexist. You see how ridiculous that sounds? It's the same thing that goes here. I mean, there's nothing of value in this quiz. And I wasn't expecting anything of value, because it's an are you sexist quiz. And sexism is it's a tough topic to tackle, because everyone has different definitions of sexism, and sexism can be seen either way, men towards women, women towards men, which is actually one of the problems in the preamble. It basically talks about that sexism is only men towards women, which is not the case. Sexism goes either way. Sexism is literally the oppression, like prejudice and oppression of a gender. And there are things that affect and oppress and prejudice both genders. So, yeah. I just have so many thoughts going through my head, but I don't want to keep rambling on. I wonder if my score would have come out any differently if I'd marked the same and then selected woman as my gender. I don't know. Probably not. But all right, let's look at some of the comments, actually. The biggest problem, other than that there are clear right answers, is the wording of the questions is ambiguous. Very true. That's what I mean by it's a loaded question. Like the question about men cherishing women, does that also imply the converse, or that only men have an extra duty? In addition, just answering disagree on some questions can feel like implying the opposite. Just in general, there should always be a neither agree or disagree. That's very true. On any quiz, there should be a kind of like a middle ground, no opinion or not enough information, some answer that allows for both. Agreed, this is an extremely flawed quiz, at least from a biased perspective. Hint, if you want to be not sexist, choose strongly disagree for every answer. Big surprise. Okay, that's pretty funny. It's a quiz created by a feminist author who, in the article, only refers to sexism towards women, not men. Saying it's a flawed quiz is quite an understatement. Very true. I mean, I don't think it has anything to do with, like I said, being a feminist is not a part of this. There are a lot of feminists who are perfectly illogical, but this is just a flawed quiz in general. You're beginning to see the agenda. It's about retaining the benefits of benevolent sexism, default protection of women by men, while escaping the personal responsibilities of actual equality. Holy shit, called out. Okay, this is just going to go into a debate on feminism there. They are not ambiguous. They're slanted towards a feminist SJW worldview. That doesn't mean they're not ambiguous. They are ambiguous. Ha! That's so true. That's essentially what I said in the video. Exactly. I do believe men should cherish and protect women. I also believe that women should cherish and protect men. The converse is very true. In fact, I pretty much think we should all be trying to take care of each other. That is unbelievably true. Well, I strongly, if you do take this quiz, I strongly recommend to post your own opinions either in video form, or you can even just post it in the comments here or on the comments of the actual article. And, you know, be sure to read through the comments of this article, because they're relatively telling of this quiz and how people are viewing it. Because, you know, a lot of people are viewing the bullshit of this quiz. And sadly, it's not a YouTube video where we can see how many people like to dislike it. We can just read the comments and see that the comments are full of people who are hating it. 220 comments. Oh, recommend this discussion. Never mind. I thought that was a like. But that's about it for this video, guys. Let me know what you think of this type where I have my screen. Sorry about the mic. Have my screen doing something, and then I'm also have my face cam. But that's about it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to comment, rate, and subscribe. And as always, have a nice day.